Hey, what's going on, goalkeepers, and welcome back to FIFA 18 Pro Clubs Goalkeeper Tips. And today I'm going to be talking about distribution, something that a lot of people have a lot of questions about, and I feel like it's definitely an important part of being a good goalkeeper on FIFA now. I don't feel like it's just about keeping shots out. I feel like if you can provide a whole package, or you're not as good at a certain thing, you can definitely make up with it in distribution. It's something that I've really been working on since the beginning of FIFA 17. At the beginning of FIFA 17, I said to myself, I'm going to try and become the best goalkeeper on the VFL, on just general pro clubs, at distributing the ball, and that's my goal. That is my target. And I may not reach that. I may be known for that. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I try and really work on. And being a really good distributor of the ball is so important in games, especially when you play that 11-man or VFL, which is the competitive pro clubs. I feel like if you can really distribute a ball out to your team and keep the possession, it makes you so much more valuable than a goalie that just kick a ball down the middle and the striker will probably won't even win because the defender will win it. But anyway, guys, let's jump into it. So I'm going to be showing you a few examples in the background, and you can see some of my distribution. You may notice it throughout some of my videos, you may not. It's one of those things that it may go unnoticed. It may be one of those things that you try and do it yourself. So when you see me do it, you think, okay, he can do that. I'm going to try and do the exact same thing. It's one of those. So let me know what you think. If you think you've noticed any of my distribution or not. The kick that I use the most, there's different types of kicks that you can use as a goalkeeper. And the main one that most people use is holding B. And that gives you a really massive kick. It's like a massive drop kick. And it just goes really far, really high and far. It's not that useful. It could be alright if you want to try and hit the ball over the top of defender, but I rarely use it. I don't really find it that beneficial anymore. I prefer to be more accurate with my passing out of my hands, and even sometimes take the time to play it off the floor instead of out of my hands. So the next one you can do is an X. An X, it's alright, it's not the best. It kind of gives you more of a driven kick, but the way you want to do the perfect driven kick is by holding RB and X. This gives you that side sweep volley that everybody loves to see. In real life, when the goalkeepers put it off like Jordan Pickford and Edison, it's one of those beautiful balls that you just think, wow, that's amazing. It floats, it goes directly to like the striker's sort of like chest if they get the perfect position, and they can control it down, they can keep possession, and it just works really, really well. And that's the kick that I use the most. So I don't use B that often, I use RB and X. That is my main one. So the times I use this is when I've got the ball in my hands, and I tell my team, if I'm playing like one of those big games, 11-man, if I'm playing small man, the same kind of applies. But I look for my strikers to spread wide. Like if I say go right, I'll look for my striker or my winger to drop off, pull out wide, maybe go on the byline, and stand there for me to aim at. Because I feel like that's the best way to do it, is if I tell them, you've got to communicate where you want to go. You say, I'm kicking it right, give them a little bit of warning, obviously, to get out there, but you play it to them. And while they're making the run, they can run onto the end of it. And it's just one of those really nice passes that works so well. And sometimes, I've got an example in this video, I think, where you might have already seen it by now, because I mean 3 minutes into the video, but it's one of those balls where you play it directly down the middle, the defender misses it, you run onto it, the striker runs onto it and just taps it in, and you get an assist. It's one of those amazing balls. It's one of my favourite types to play, and it's so good. Like, the RB and X is just the best type of ball. Get in the habit of using that as much as possible. I'm probably going to notice a lot of people on pro clubs now in the games that I play. I come across people that start doing those sort of balls. I'm probably giving people tips that I don't want to be giving them, because it'll probably come back and bite me in the arse a little bit. But it works really, really well. So the next part of distributing that I really, really value as a goalkeeper is throwing and rolling. And these are two things that I have definitely utilised a lot more since playing the 11-man scene of pro clubs. It's getting a defender to come to you if they want the ball, instead of, like, if there's no options long, like left or right, even down the middle, or no throwing options, a defender will run to you and you roll the ball to his feet, and then you drag off, you pull off, and you give him an option, and then he like drags players in, and then you can just pass it around the team, and you can get it going really well, and you keep the possession of the ball. That's the important thing. You don't want to be giving away the ball, and by rolling it out, you can really keep the possession. You can really just build up the play and control the game a lot more, and I feel that's definitely more valuable than someone, again, that will just completely hoof the ball over the top, because I just don't feel that really works anymore. I feel it's pretty pointless, and for me, I don't like seeing that. The next thing, obviously, is throwing, and throwing is something, like I said, it can be really good as well. If you've got the ball, if you come out, claim a cross, claim a corner, and then you've got the ball in your hands, you think, okay, where am I looking? Is there a guy to the left? Is there a guy to the right? Is there a guy in the middle? Which is open? And there's nobody up front that's open, so there's a guy on the wing that your fullback's just pushed up into enough space, and you hold out and you can throw the ball into his path, and it works really well. There's another way of throwing as well, that if you want to try and curl it around a defender, or into the strikers, or into the fullback or winger's path, is RB and A. and you hold that full power, and your guy kind of like side throws it, and it kind of curls a little bit into the path. It works really nicely, it works well, but don't do it all the time. I'd really be careful when you do it. You've got to make sure you do that in like a practice, like small man session or something. When you're playing divisions with your friends, just try practicing that, see how it works, understand the mechanics on how it works, and then try it in some of the bigger games, because if you do it wrong, it could just go right into the path of striker. They could take on one defender, and then they're in on goal, and then you just completely stitch your team up. So I'd be really careful with how you do that. So the next thing I want to cover is goal kicks. Goal kicks is something that I've kind of picked up, and it's something that you can't really do too much with, but this is what I do. So in a big game, VFL games, 11-man games, I get my striker to drag out wide, whichever side he is on. So if I'm on the right side of the goal taking a goal kick, the right striker would go out to the right wing, and then the winger would tuck into the middle. The reason for doing this is that normally the strikers are bigger, but whoever is the biggest upfront player, then get him to go out wide. You kick it as far out wide as possible, because it kind of drags the defence out as well, leaving gaps, and then he can knock it down to that smaller winger or the cam or whatever in that middle position, and it works really well. And if you can't do an option like that, if you're playing a team that's dominant in the air, sometimes you get those teams that they have the defenders, they win every header, and you can't do a kick that goes out wide, you can't find any chips. Then the next thing to do is really just try and play the ball short. Get your defender to come short, get someone to fall off from him or drag off from him, and then you could pass it short, you could pass it back to you, you could play it out to the other defender, and then work the ball up like that. It's another thing of doing. And if you want to know a really good trick, before I go into the Q&A section of the video, holding LB and X does a more up in the air kick. Holding RB and X does a more driven kick on the ground. That's a little tip for you guys. Try it out for yourself. Not many people knew about it. I mean, it's something that not many people do, to be honest. Most people just clear it. But if you're trying to panic clear a ball as well, use B. And if you've got the chance to control a through ball, try and do an LB and Y, but hold it down for as much power as possible, because you don't want to be costing it and just doing a little chip and it just kind of dinks it into the striker's path, because that really wouldn't be very good. But anyway, hopefully you've found this little distribution tip quite good. I've done, I think, about 7 minutes on distribution. It's probably one of the longest ones about a certain subject. I really like distribution. It's one of my favorite things. If you want to see an example video, like a Thinking Like Rixy video on distribution at some point, then do let me know. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Q&A section of this video. Hazard asks, does your guy ever put the ball in the back of his own net when making a save? And the answer is yes, it happens quite often. It's one of those things where I feel like EA are quite in the mixture of changing over the animations in goalkeeping. Like, obviously, you guys would have seen that there's a load of new animations in goalkeeping, and I feel that they've tried putting stuff in, but they haven't actually polished it. So sometimes you'd make a nice save, and it would end up putting your own net. There is actually one of those in the collection of clips that you're going to be watching here. FIFA Dog HD says, Rixy, I have a question. How can you level up fast as a goalkeeper? Because when I play dropping matches, it doesn't level me up. I'd just say find yourself a club and start playing some clubs with friends instead. You'll probably end up having more to do, because dropping matches, people aren't actually that good, so you don't actually get that much to do. So I'd probably go ahead and do that. Golden Line says, anybody know a YouTuber that does only defender, or most of the time defender? Just that I do goalkeeper, basically. Yes, I did answer this as well, but I want to say it here. If you're looking for defender tips, build, anything like that, go check out Sparky's Army. He'll give you the best defending tips that you'll find. He's one of the best defenders on the VFL, which is the competitive 11v11 FIFA scene. Definitely go check him out. I'll leave him in the description. Apex asks, is LT better than LB sometimes? It can be, yes. I don't tend to find myself using LT that often, though. I just think LB does pretty much everything that you need it to. But LT can sometimes be used really well. Leon Lewis says, I don't get it. Whenever I dive / save a shot, I just never seem to save it. Any tips? You may want to work on your timing. Make sure your position is completely set up. Maybe go to assisted and just give that a go. But just get your timing practiced and hold the stick to the direction you want to dive. Maybe if you're flicking it a bit too late. XI Jordan says, I'm struggling to play goalkeeper this year. I just can't seem to be able to play as good as I did last year. Any tips on how I can get back there? Well, this FIFA is slightly different. It's less assisted. But what I'd say is just literally keep playing. Keep grinding out. Everybody has bad spells. I have bad spells where I just go through massive dips in where I can actually, in my performance and how I play. So just keep playing, you'll get back to it. Ethan Bell says, can you control the angle you dive? Because my goalkeeper is struggling to save it. Even though I'm diving the right way, it looks like I'm not reacting quick enough when I am. If it's going for top corner, I obviously hold up to the right or up to the left or just up. I always try and do as much direction as possible to give myself as much of a chance. I feel that you can control it, but sometimes you can't. It's just one of those things where the game writes it for you and you can't do much about it. Charlie Stutter says, how do you make sure your guy does not move to the side when you mean to dive instead of moving? Just you've got to really work on trying not to spam your stick. I do it sometimes, obviously, because it's just a reaction. You think they're going to shoot, so you move, and then your guy gets out of position. It really comes down to practice and just trying not to flip the stick. Voltic Diamond says, Rixy, why is it when my teammate passes it back to me, my goalkeeper just watches it go in the goal? And buddy, I have no idea there. I have no idea why it's not locking you on. Are you holding LT or RT? Maybe both of them, because that does lock you off from the ball. But that's the only thing I can really think of. Reptile BIH says, are you assisted, semi, or manual? I'm playing on manual at the moment, but I'm highly considering going down to semi, because I just don't really, I don't really see the benefit now of playing on manual, especially in this game where it's not that good. So that's probably what I'm going to be trying to do. I might play around playing on semi and see how I like that. Hantran Piper says, how do you fly forward? I hold right, on the right stick I hold forward, and then, or whichever direction it is towards the ball. Connor Play says, great video, bro. Thank you. I have a question. My save percentage is so low at the moment for me. I'm just starting off as a goalkeeper, but now I'm much better. How do I get my save percentage up? And for that, I wouldn't bother about save percentage. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're a good goalkeeper or a bad goalie. Like, for example, my save percentage is really, really poor. I'm not sure why. But it's one of those things where you just don't worry about it, because it's a save percentage. It's just a stat. It doesn't mean anything. How you perform in the game is obviously more important. It's Savage says, I have trouble picking up the ball when it comes to me. How do I fix that? Just hold the right stick forward or whatever direction the ball is coming at you, and it should pick it up. If not, if it's like a loose ball that's come through and your guy controls it outside the box, you can run it back into the box and then press RB, and he does actually pick up the ball. Dash Trash says, do you ever manually position yourself? And the answer to that is yes, I do manually position myself quite often. If it comes to a sweat or a cross, I tend to try and manually position myself there, because it gives me a little bit more of a chance. Inferno asks a question that has been apparently true on FIFA for the past couple of years, and I've never really found it to be true. He says, does holding LB and RT at the same time help you get across the other side of the goal faster? And personally, I don't think it does. People have different opinions. I just run. I don't really feel that it does make too much of a difference, but it may do for you. But for me personally, I wouldn't say it does. It's just one of those myths that someone said before, and it's kind of stuck on. Alfie Lawrence says, I've just signed for a top team at Mainz, and obviously they're a top team. I feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself. Do you have any tips with dealing with it? What I'd say is making sure that you're confident with how you're playing. Be confident in your decisions. If you make a decision to come out for a corner, stick to it. Don't hesitate. And just believe in yourself. They're the only things you can do. That's personally what I do. I've had times where I've felt nervous for teams, like when I played for England in the VFL World Cup. There's times there that I need to just believe in myself, and it really showed off. Chilled Gamer says, what style of play is the hardest to deal with as a goalkeeper? Long shots, tiki-taka, long ball. What I find is when you're really close up against some of those really good strikers in VFL, and they start ball rolling and they start fake shotting and doing skills, it's really hard not to spam your stick. I personally find that is probably the hardest thing to deal with. Mads100 says, how to learn to predict corners. And I don't think there's a way to really learn. It just depends on the power bar, but then again, they can drill a front post ball. So it's kind of just starting off in a position that you're comfortable with getting the ball wherever it goes to, and just committing to it. Don't hesitate. Anyway, guys, so hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of Goalkeeper Tips. Let me know any other questions you may have next week. If there's anything that you're unsure of, and if you want to see a new topic next week, then please do leave it down below, and I will get around to doing it as quickly as possible. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.